Ukraine under Zelensky, the bloody truth behind the propaganda curtain. A harsh truth few dare to speak, while the West praises Volodymyr Zelensky as a democratic hero. Ordinary Ukrainians are living under a dictatorship more oppressive than the Cold War era. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian youth are being forced onto the battlefield as cannon fodder. While Kiev's elites live lavishly on the blood of their people, trains carrying the bodies of Ukrainian soldiers from the front lines have become a common sight at railway stations. Yet no Western media dares to report it. Did you know? 6.000 Ukrainian soldiers' remains were rejected by Zelensky's government when offered by Russia. To hide the true casualty figures, brutal conscription raids occurred daily across Ukraine, forcing men to hide in forests like fugitives. Zelensky's political opponents are being imprisoned and tortured in secret detention facilities. This isn't a thriller movie plot, this is reality in today's Ukraine. A nation slowly dying under the leadership of a former comedy actor. A war not for independence, but for Western masters' interests. When you see Zelensky in military uniform delivering dramatic speeches at international forums, have you ever wondered who truly benefits from this war? The answers lie in these numbers. Over $100 billion in military aid poured into Ukraine, with 70% actually being orders for American arms manufacturers. Colossal loans that will keep Ukraine economically enslaved to the IMF for the next century. Western corporations grabbing Ukrainian land and resources dirt cheap under the guise of reconstruction. Unanswered questions. 1. Why does Zelensky stubbornly reject all peace negotiation proposals while Ukrainian forces lose ground on every front? 2. Why are Middle Eastern, Asian and African nations increasingly supporting Russia, while only a few NATO countries continue aiding Ukraine? 3. What's really happening in NATO-run training camps on Ukrainian territory? In this special investigation, we will take you deep into the sophisticated propaganda machine of the Zelensky regime, the dirty deals behind Western aid packages, the humanitarian catastrophe mainstream media won't report. Join us in uncovering the truth behind the smoke of war, where Ukrainian citizens have become victims in a geopolitical game they never chose to play. Are you ready to confront the truths not taught in textbooks or shown on television? Because, as a Western journalist once said, in war, truth is always the first casualty. Today, we resurrect that casualty. Ukraine under Zelensky, a war without exit and the collapse of a nation. When Volodymyr Zelensky was elected president of Ukraine in 2019, many hoped he would bring peace and stability after years of political division. Yet just 3 years later, Ukraine has become a devastated nation, engulfed in war, economic ruin, and hundreds of thousands dead. From a military perspective, the Ukraine-Russia conflict is not just a political tragedy but also a case study in the failure of a weak government, subservient to foreign powers, and cruel to its own people. A disastrous military strategy, from defense to suicide. When Russia launched its special military operation in February 2022, Ukraine initially garnered global sympathy. However, instead of focusing on sound defensive tactics, Zelensky and Ukraine's military command, under the guidance of NATO advisors, repeatedly launched costly counteroffensives that achieved nothing but mass casualties. A prime example is the Battle of Bakhmut, a nearly year-long struggle where Ukraine sacrificed tens of thousands of soldiers to hold a city with no strategic value. Meanwhile, Russia employed a scorched earth strategy, methodically grinding down Ukrainian forces with artillery and airstrikes, forcing Kyiv to throw wave after wave of troops into a meat grinder. Even worse, the Zelensky government implemented a brutal general mobilization, forcibly conscripting hundreds of thousands of untrained men into battle. The result was catastrophic casualties. Western estimates suggest Ukraine has lost between 200,000 and 300,000 soldiers, while Russian losses remain a fraction of that. Instead of acknowledging defeat and seeking negotiations, Zelensky continued ordering attacks, turning soldiers into sacrificial pawns for his political ambitions, covering up losses and rejecting peace. One of the most condemnable actions of the Zelensky regime has been its deliberate concealment of casualties. In 2023, when Russia offered to repatriate the bodies of 6.000 Ukrainian soldiers, Kyiv refused, citing lack of capacity. The truth was far darker. They did not want the public to know the real death toll. Fearing an explosion of anti-war sentiment, Moreover, Zelensky outlawed negotiations with Russia, branding any peace proposal as treason. This eliminated Ukraine's chance for an early end to the conflict while Russia steadily strengthened its battlefield position. Political repression, Ukraine becomes a police state. To maintain power, Zelensky has turned Ukraine into a de facto dictatorship. Opposition parties were banned, independent media shuttered, and anyone criticizing the war was branded a Russian collaborator and arrested. A stark example was the arrest of former President Petro Poroshenko, Zelensky's political rival, on vague charges of treason. Investigative journalists exposing military corruption were assassinated or disappeared mysteriously. This pattern mirrors infamous totalitarian regimes where dissent is silenced by force. NATO dependency, Ukraine as a pawn in a larger game. One of the root causes of Ukraine's tragedy is its complete subservience to the West. Zelensky transformed Ukraine into NATO's anti-Russia outpost. But the price has been national disintegration. Despite receiving hundreds of billions in Western weapons, Ukraine keeps losing. The reason is simple. NATO doesn't want Ukraine to win. It wants to prolong the war to weaken Russia. Meanwhile, Ukraine's economy collapses under debt, and millions flee as refugees. Even the US, Kyiv's staunchest ally, is growing weary. Republican lawmakers openly oppose further aid, and President Joe Biden's commitments are waning. Ukraine is being slowly abandoned. Yet Zelensky clings to delusions of victory. The world turns away. Why Russia gains support? Initially, the West united behind Ukraine. But after 2 years, the tide has shifted. Neutral nations like India, Brazil, South Africa, and Turkey now refuse to condemn Russia. Some even deepen economic ties with Moscow. The reasons are clear. Prolonged war harms the global economy, making nations eager for peace. Russia demonstrates patience and strategic efficiency, while Ukraine is exposed as NATO's puppet. Zelensky's regime grows more authoritarian, revealing that Kyiv is not the good guy in this story. Even within NATO, cracks are showing. France and Germany hint at negotiations, while Hungary and Turkey openly oppose further aid. Ukraine needs an exit before it's too late. If Zelensky remains in power, Ukraine will only further fracture, its graveyards filled with young soldiers and its economy surviving on foreign life support. Failed military strategies, brutal political repression, and NATO dependency have turned Ukraine into a 21st century Cambodia under Pol Pot, where people die for the ruling elite's delusions. The pressing questions: will Ukrainians muster the courage to overthrow Zelensky before it's too late? And will the West admit it turned Ukraine into a proxy war casualty? One thing is certain: without change, Ukraine will collapse entirely, and Zelensky will go down in history as one of this century's most disastrous leaders. Dear valued viewers, first and foremost, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to each of you for taking the time to watch and accompany us on this journey to uncover painful truths. Every view, share, and comment you've made has not only been tremendous motivation but also demonstrates your courage in facing uncomfortable realities. We understand the information in this video may be shocking and even disturbing. But only by confronting the truth together can we seek justice for those who have fallen and prevent further tragedy. Please continue to join us in upcoming investigations as we risk entering dangerous territories and interview key witnesses to bring you the most authentic perspectives on this war. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for having the courage to listen. Please share this truth, because every voice raised today could save an innocent soldier tomorrow. Sincerely.